Most people think becoming self-sufficient requires a huge farm somewhere in the middle of nowhere. They picture 40 acres, expensive tractors, livestock spread across endless fields, and a budget that only retirees or wealthy families could afford. But what if I told you that 1/4 of an acre, just 10,890 square feet, could produce most of the food your family eats, collect enough water to survive, generate its own electricity, and slash your monthly bills close to zero? It sounds impossible because we've spent decades believing that independence requires more land, more money, and more equipment. The truth is much simpler. Most people don't have a land problem. They have a design problem. A 1/4 acre isn't small when every square foot has a purpose. Throughout history, families survived on much less. Before modern supermarkets, people didn't drive 15 minutes to buy vegetables wrapped in plastic. They walked into their own gardens. Rainwater wasn't considered an emergency backup. It was the primary water source. Chickens weren't backyard decorations. They were breakfast. Root cellars replaced refrigerators, and preserving food wasn't a hobby. It was how people made it through winter. The technology has changed. The principles haven't. Today, we have solar panels that produce more electricity than entire homesteads needed a century ago. We have batteries that last thousands of charging cycles. We have better irrigation systems, stronger greenhouses, improved seed varieties, and efficient food preservation methods. Yet somehow, most families are more dependent than ever. Electric bills keep rising. Water rates increase every year. Grocery prices seem to climb every time you visit the store. The average household spends thousands of dollars every year buying things their own property could help provide. That's the opportunity. Not to escape society. Not to become isolated. But to build a property that works for you every single day. Imagine waking up after a heavy rainstorm knowing your water tanks are completely full. Imagine seeing your solar batteries fully charged before breakfast. Imagine walking into your backyard instead of driving to the grocery store. Imagine opening a pantry filled with food you grew yourself. That's not fantasy. It's planning. And today, we're going to build that plan together. Before we begin, tell me something in the comments. If someone gave you a 1/4 acre tomorrow, what would you build first? Would it be a vegetable garden? Solar power? Fruit trees? Or would you focus on collecting water? I'm curious to see how everyone thinks differently. Let's begin with the most important resource of all. Water. Without water, nothing else matters. Every plant, every animal, every person depends on it. Fortunately, nature provides it for free. The question isn't whether rain falls on your property. The question is whether you capture it. Here's something most homeowners never calculate. A typical roof collects an enormous amount of rain every year. Instead of flowing into storm drains, that water can be stored, filtered, and used throughout your property. Many people spend hundreds of dollars every month watering lawns they never eat. Imagine replacing that lawn with food. Now imagine watering it without paying the water company. That's where the first system begins. Your roof becomes a giant collection surface. Gutters guide rainfall into storage tanks. The first few gallons from every storm are diverted away to remove leaves, dust, and bird droppings. After that, clean rainwater flows into large storage tanks where it waits until you need it. Suddenly, every thunderstorm becomes an opportunity instead of an inconvenience. Instead of saying, "It's raining again," you start saying, "The tanks are filling." That shift in thinking changes everything. Storage is equally important. One tank is helpful. Multiple connected tanks are transformational. As your storage grows, so does your resilience. A dry week becomes manageable. A dry month becomes less stressful. Eventually, water stops feeling scarce. It becomes another resource your property quietly produces. Of course, collecting water is only half the story. The next challenge is using it efficiently. This is where gravity becomes one of your greatest tools. Instead of relying entirely on electric pumps, carefully placing storage tanks slightly higher than gardens allows water to flow naturally. Gravity never sends a bill. It never breaks down. It works 24 hours a day. Drip irrigation takes this even further. Instead of flooding entire gardens, water travels directly to plant roots. Very little evaporates. Very little is wasted. Plants grow healthier while using far less water. It's one of those rare situations where doing less actually produces more. For drinking water, filtration becomes essential. Modern gravity-fed filters remove sediment and greatly improve water quality without requiring continuous electricity. Combined with proper storage and maintenance, rainwater becomes one of the cleanest water sources available. This isn't experimental technology. Communities around the world have relied on similar systems for generations. Water independence begins with simple engineering. Once water is solved, another major monthly expense comes into focus. Electricity. Most people dramatically overestimate how much power they actually need. Think about your day. LED lights, a refrigerator, a freezer, internet, phone chargers, a laptop, perhaps a washing machine. Modern efficient appliances consume far less energy than older models. The biggest savings don't come from producing more electricity. They come from wasting less. Walk through your own home tonight. Notice every light left on. Every device plugged in but unused. Every appliance quietly consuming power while doing absolutely nothing. Those invisible loads quietly increase your electric bill month after month. Eliminating waste is like discovering free electricity before buying a single solar panel. Once consumption is reduced, solar becomes surprisingly practical. A modest solar array can easily support an efficient household. The batteries quietly store excess energy during sunny afternoons. That stored electricity powers the home overnight. When storms arrive, the batteries keep everything running. Instead of worrying about outages, you begin watching weather forecasts with confidence. Sunny week? Excellent. Cloudy tomorrow? No problem. Everything was already charged yesterday. This mindset feels incredibly different from depending entirely on the grid. Power becomes something you harvest instead of something you purchase. There's another hidden advantage. Solar changes how you think about time. Instead of running every appliance whenever you want, you naturally begin using the most electricity while the sun is producing it. Laundry happens during daylight. Battery charging happens automatically. Heavy electrical tasks shift toward peak production hours. Without realizing it, your entire household becomes more efficient. That efficiency compounds every single year. Now let's talk about the heart of the entire property. Food. This is where most beginners accidentally fail. Not because gardening is difficult. Because they plant what looks exciting instead of what actually feeds people. Walk through many backyard gardens and you'll find beautiful lettuce, colorful peppers, herbs, and tomatoes. They are wonderful, but they don't provide enough calories to replace grocery shopping. Real food security starts with staple crops. Foods that store well. Foods that provide energy. Foods that produce large harvests from relatively small spaces. Potatoes are one of the greatest examples. Few crops produce more calories per square foot. Properly stored, they remain edible for months. Sweet potatoes offer similar benefits while thriving in warmer climates. Beans deserve equal attention. They provide protein. They're easy to dry. They store for years. Combined with grains and vegetables, they become the foundation of countless meals. Winter squash offers another incredible advantage. Unlike many vegetables that spoil within days, properly cured squash can remain edible throughout much of winter. Pumpkins, butternut squash, acorn squash. These aren't just seasonal decorations. They're long-term food storage disguised as vegetables. Corn often surprises people. Not sweet corn eaten fresh in summer. Grain corn. Dried and stored correctly, it becomes flour, meal, animal feed, and countless homemade foods. Now imagine dividing your garden into carefully planned sections. One section produces potatoes. Another grows beans. Another grows squash. Another focuses on corn. Instead of random planting, every bed serves a specific purpose. Crop rotation keeps soil healthy. Compost returns nutrients naturally. Nothing is wasted. Every harvest strengthens next year's garden. Over time, The soil becomes richer instead of poorer. That's one of nature's greatest secrets. Healthy soil produces healthy food. Healthy food builds healthy families. And healthy families become less dependent on outside systems. Here's something I'd love to know. If you could only grow one crop for an entire year, which would you choose? Potatoes? Beans? Corn? Or something completely different? Leave your answer below because everyone's climate is unique, and your experience might help someone else watching this video. Food is only beginning to transform the property. In part 2, we'll explore the systems that most people overlook entirely. We'll build a compact protein system using small livestock that fits comfortably on a quarter acre. We'll create a food preservation station that keeps harvests fresh through winter. We'll design fruit production that improves every single year. And finally, we'll combine every system into one complete property where food, water, and electricity work together instead of separately. Because true independence isn't created by one big project. It's created when every small system supports the next one. By now, your quarter acre has already become something most suburban properties never will. It captures its own rainwater. It produces its own electricity. It grows the calorie-rich foods that replace a large portion of your grocery bill. But here's the truth. Most people stop right there. They celebrate their first harvest, admire their solar panels, and feel like they've reached the finish line. In reality, they're only halfway there. Because growing food isn't the same as feeding your family all year. The real challenge begins after harvest. Anyone can grow tomatoes in July. The question is this. What are you eating in January? That's where the next system changes everything. Protein. If calories keep you alive, protein keeps you strong. It's also one of the most expensive items people buy every week. Walk through any grocery store, and you'll quickly notice something. Eggs, chicken, beef, fish. Every source of protein has become significantly more expensive over the last few years. For many families, protein is now the largest part of the grocery budget. But producing protein on a quarter acre requires a completely different mindset. Forget the dream of owning a herd of cattle. Forget giant barns and endless pastures. Small properties demand efficient animals. Animals that produce more while consuming less. Chickens are one of the easiest places to begin. A small flock provides fresh eggs nearly every day. Their manure becomes fertilizer. They happily eat kitchen scraps, insects, weeds, and leftover vegetables from the garden. Nothing goes to waste. Instead of paying to dispose of food scraps, you're feeding tomorrow's breakfast. If local regulations allow it, rabbits become another outstanding choice. They're remarkably quiet. They reproduce quickly. They require very little space compared to larger livestock. Unlike cattle, they don't need acres of grazing land. Many experienced homesteaders call rabbits one of the most efficient meat animals ever raised. Their manure can often be applied directly to gardens without composting, making it even more valuable. Some people also raise quail. They mature quickly. They require very little room. Their eggs are nutritious, and their meat provides another reliable food source. The point isn't raising every animal. The point is choosing the ones that match your property and your goals. The best homestead isn't the one with the most animals. It's the one where every animal has a purpose. Every system should support another. Garden scraps feed chickens. Chicken manure feeds compost. Compost feeds vegetables. Vegetables feed people. Leftovers return to compost. The cycle begins again. Nature has always worked in circles. The closer your property follows those circles, the less money leaves your pocket. That's the secret many beginners miss. They think every system stands alone. In reality, every successful homestead functions like one living machine. Each part strengthens the next. Now imagine it's late September. Your garden is overflowing. Tomatoes cover the vines. Beans are drying. Potatoes fill baskets. Squash is stacked in rows. Fruit trees are heavy with apples and pears. For a moment, everything feels abundant. Then reality arrives. Fresh food doesn't stay fresh forever. Within days, tomatoes begin softening. Leafy greens wilt. Fruit starts bruising. Vegetables slowly disappear. Without preservation, months of work can vanish in a matter of weeks. That's why successful homesteaders don't celebrate Harvest Day. They prepare for Storage Day. Food preservation is what turns a garden into a year-round pantry. One of the oldest methods is canning. Pressure canning safely preserves meats, beans, soups, and vegetables. Water bath canning works well for jams, pickles, fruits, and high-acid foods. Rows of glass jars lining pantry shelves aren't just beautiful. They are security. Every jar represents one less trip to the grocery store. Dehydration offers another powerful solution. Apples become dried snacks. Herbs become seasonings. Peppers become spices. Tomatoes become flavorful ingredients for winter meals. Removing moisture dramatically extends shelf life while preserving much of the nutrition. Then comes freezing. Powered by your solar system, an efficient freezer quietly stores vegetables, berries, meat, and prepared meals throughout the year. The sun that ripened your harvest also provides the electricity to preserve it. That's an incredible partnership. Root cellars remain one of the simplest storage methods ever invented. Long before electricity, families relied on cool underground spaces to preserve food naturally. Potatoes, carrots, beets, onions, garlic, apples. Many crops stay fresh for months under the right conditions. No complicated technology. No monthly energy bill. Just steady temperatures and good airflow. When multiple preservation methods work together, your harvest begins lasting all year instead of a few weeks. Suddenly, winter meals taste like summer. Now let's step outside again. We've talked about vegetables. We've discussed protein. But one category of food quietly becomes more valuable every single year. Fruit. Unlike annual vegetables, fruit trees become more productive with time. The first year may feel disappointing. The second year shows promise. 5 years later, they're producing baskets of food with surprisingly little effort. Apple trees, pear trees, peaches, plums, persimmons, figs. The best choices depend on your climate, but nearly every region has fruit varieties that thrive. Berry bushes deserve equal attention. Blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, gooseberries. Many produce incredible harvests while occupying relatively little space. Some can even grow along fences or property lines where traditional gardens struggle. Think long-term. Every tree you plant today could still be feeding your family decades from now. That's one of the greatest investments any property owner can make. Not because it grows money, because it grows food. Herbs deserve their own space as well. Many people underestimate their value. Fresh basil, rosemary, thyme, oregano, mint, parsley. These tiny plants transform ordinary meals while costing very little to maintain. Many attract beneficial insects that naturally reduce garden pests. Others repel insects altogether. Again, one system supports another. Even flowers have a purpose. Pollinators like bees and butterflies dramatically improve fruit and vegetable production. Without pollinators, harvests shrink. Planting flowers isn't only about beauty. It's about productivity. Now step back for a moment. Look across the entire property. Rainwater flows into storage tanks. Solar panels quietly charge batteries. Vegetable beds fill with staple crops. Fruit trees line the edges. Berry bushes occupy unused spaces. Chickens scratch through compost. Herbs grow near the kitchen. The freezer hums softly. Pantry shelves are full. Nothing looks oversized. Nothing looks wasteful. Everything fits together. That's the real beauty of a quarter-acre design. Efficiency beats size every time. Of course, no project succeeds without avoiding common mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes is trying to build everything during the first year. Excitement often becomes expensive. People buy expensive equipment before understanding their actual needs. Start smaller. Learn each system. Expand slowly. Every improvement should solve a real problem. Another common mistake is ignoring the soil. Healthy gardens begin underground. Poor soil limits everything above it. Adding compost every year creates better harvests with fewer fertilizers. Think of soil as a savings account. Every time you add organic matter, you're investing in future harvests. Many people also underestimate maintenance. Solar panels occasionally need cleaning. Water systems need inspections. Fruit trees require pruning. Animals need daily care. A successful homestead isn't maintenance-free. It's simply worth maintaining. Another mistake is growing food nobody actually eats. This happens surprisingly often. Plant what your family enjoys. If nobody likes turnips, don't dedicate half the garden to turnips. Grow foods that regularly appear on your dinner table. That's how grocery bills shrink. Storage planning matters just as much. Never wait until harvest to wonder where everything will go. Build shelves before you need shelves. Buy jars before harvest season. Prepare containers ahead of time. Success usually belongs to the people who prepare early. Now picture your life 18 months from now. The utility bill arrives. It's dramatically smaller than it used to be. Your pantry remains full. Fresh eggs wait in the kitchen. Rainwater tanks sit nearly full after another storm. The freezer contains meat and vegetables from months earlier. Fruit trees continue growing stronger every season. Neighbors wonder why you're always working outside. What they don't realize is that your property has quietly become one of the hardest working members of your household. Every day it produces something valuable. Food, water, energy, fertilizer, seeds, knowledge, confidence. Perhaps the greatest reward isn't financial. It's peace of mind. Storm knocks out power? Your batteries keep working. Water restrictions? Your tanks are already full. Grocery prices double again? Your pantry doesn't panic. Independence isn't about preparing for the worst. It's about worrying less every single day. That peace is difficult to measure with dollars. Yet it may be the most valuable thing your quarter acre ever produces. If there's one lesson to remember from everything we've covered, let it be this. You don't need perfect land. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need to build everything overnight. You simply need a property where every system supports another. Rain supports the garden. The garden supports the animals. The animals support the compost. The compost supports the soil. The soil supports next year's harvest. The harvest fills your pantry. And your pantry gives your family security. 1/4 acre may seem small on paper. But when every square foot has a purpose, it becomes far larger than most people ever imagine. Now I'd love to hear from you. If you had to build this system one step at a time, which project would you start this month? Would you install rainwater collection? Plant fruit trees? Build raised garden beds? Set up solar panels? Or start raising chickens? Leave your answer in the comments because your ideas might inspire someone else to begin their own journey. And if you enjoyed this series, don't forget to subscribe. In our next video, we'll design the ultimate 1-acre self-sufficient homestead, showing exactly how a slightly larger property can produce enough food, energy, and water to support an entire family while keeping monthly bills incredibly low. Until then, remember this. Freedom doesn't always come from earning more. Sometimes, it comes from needing less.